Okay, so I've been asked to do a quick equipment guide for Tower Fantasy. The thing is, there's a lot to cover in equipment, so this is not really going to be quick. But what I'll try to do is break it into three different parts. So one part for free-to-play casuals, one part for sort of heavy min-max free-to-plays, heavy time spent free to plays or light spenders, and the third part for whales. So hopefully, people who are just looking for a quick guide, you can just watch the first part and be done with it. So for free to play casuals, or those that don't really want to spend too much time thinking about equipment, particularly on global for now, just focus on one element first. Pick an element that you like or that you've got good characters for, whether that be Vault because you managed to roll Nemesis, or Ice because you managed to roll Frigg, or you're saving for Claudia, whatever it is. Pick one element, and then if that element, for whatever reason in particular, 1 week is heavily, all the content heavily resists it, and you're doing group content, just maybe do healing or tanking or something else instead, right? So in terms of when I say run or focus on one element, what that means is you prioritize having either the element that you want, the attack stat for it, or all attack. Both of these are fine, right? If you're a casual player, or don't want to focus too much on equipment, either of these two stats are fine. If you're running Vault, you want Vault attack. If you're running Physical, you want Physical attack, obviously. All attack gives you this amount of attack into all of your elements. So you will get whatever it is, 400 into all of them. So it's a great sort of all-rounder, right? If you've got all attack on all of your pieces, you only need one set, and then you're good for whatever elemental comp you're running. Gloves and boots can roll crit. None of the other pieces can. When I'm talking about rolling, I'm talking about in the random stats. You can have crit as a random stat here. I don't have it on my boots, but you can have it on boots as well. If you do manage to get crit here, great. You ideally want some rolls in there. If it doesn't roll into it, doesn't really matter. Every 5 levels, so when you get all your equipment to level 5, all your equipment to level 10, to 15, etc., you get a little sort of set boost. So all your stats go up a little bit when you get everything to level 5, to level 10, 15. So what you ideally want is to level your equipment evenly, right? Spread your resources evenly. So get them all to level 5, then to level 10, then to level 15. In terms of when you are enhancing the level, spread them across it evenly if you can. And then in terms of when you get new equipment, just have a look at whether you've got some of the stats that you want. Remember, it's just really, the element and then the attack, or all attack. Let's say you've got one piece, you've rolled a number of stars, and it's got everything into flame resistance, and then you've got another piece that comes up with, the attack that you want. Maybe try rolling the new one, see if it is better. If it is, you just replace it. Right? The levels transfer across 1-to-1. The advancement stars, you can just feed the old one into the new one. So what I'm talking about is an advancement. You can, if you've got the old piece of equipment here, you equip the new piece of equipment and you just pop the old one into the new one. It's not 100% XP transferred across, but it's good enough. And finally, in terms of recycling, you will see some videos telling you to do recycling, maybe. Or you've heard about it from other people telling you that you should do it. For casual players, don't use this function. The recycle function only gives you back around 50% of the XP that you would otherwise get if you just used the equipment and fed it into another one. So this is more of a min-max whale strategy. Alright, so that's it for casuals. Moving on, if you are a free-to-play min-max or light spender, eventually you're going to want 2 to 3 elements. Very eventually you could probably get all of the elements, but honestly, to start off with, you probably want to focus just on 2, particularly where global is now. Focus on 2 sets. So what I'm talking about is having one set, let's say, with all frost attack, right? And another set with all physical attack. Let's say you're going Claudia and Shiro, who's coming up. So have one set that's focused on, one set that's focused on rolling into frost attack, one set that's focused on rolling into a physical attack, for instance. In terms of crit for F2P min-max and light spenders, you really want some rolls into crit. You don't. For whales, later on I'm going to suggest eventually you're going to want 100% crit rate. Okay, so this number here, eventually you're going to want this to be 100%. For light spenders and heavy playing free-to-plays, 100% is a little bit unrealistic, particularly for where we're at right now. But you do want boots and gloves with crit rolled in here at least once or twice. The roll ranges don't really matter as much. You don't really want to waste your resources re-rolling new pieces just to get high rolls on your range. But the number of rolls into it does matter. Right? If you've got a glove and a boot that only have one roll into crit, you're going to find your crit rate to be quite low. You can still use pieces with all attack, because in global, actually, what we've found, or at least what the leaks have said, is that our numbers have been adjusted down, and the elemental attack numbers have actually been adjusted down further than all attack. So all attack is actually more competitive in global than it is on CN, where you pretty much don't want all attack. You always just want the elemental one. Having said that, an average roll on all attack is still going to be around 30% less than an average roll on elemental attack, right? So if you roll really well on all attack, great, it can be a competitive piece. But the average rolls on elemental attack are still going to be better. Which is why you're still probably going to want to have different sets for, let's say, your Frost set with Frigga and whoever, compared with your, let's say, Vault set with Nemesis, Crow. You're still going to want to have different pieces. Probably not on gloves and boots for free-to-play min-max and light spenders. You can have the same gloves and boots to just roll into crit. For the rest of the pieces, you're going to want different ones for the different elements you're going for. Pretty much every other stat is not so useful. Resistances are not so useful. HP, there are some skills that do use HP, some matrices that use HP, but it's not as effective as attack. And in terms of recycle, I still wouldn't recommend it unless you're a whale. There's 2 reasons you recycle. Either you're a whale, or let's say you've got a piece that's rolled, you've rolled all 5 stars and it's rolled perfectly, right? It's rolled perfectly, and you have one of those pieces for every single element. Then you can say to yourself, okay, I literally don't need any more bracer experience. I can recycle all of my bracers and use that experience for another type of piece. Otherwise, if you're still at some point going to roll a bracer, then there's no point recycling those, in my opinion, anyway, because you're losing half the XP. Finally, for whales, your eventual goal. So for whales, I will switch to CN. Let's switch to CN. And look at, this is the person who's the top of the bygone rankings at the moment on my server in CN. Your eventual goal is to have all 4 elemental sets, right, as a whale, because you want to be as effective as possible no matter what the weather, no matter what weapons are coming up as bonus weapons on, let's say, Bygone or Wormhole, whatever content you're doing, right? Or you might be doing a Void Rift that has a specific boss. You need to have the elemental attack maxed for that particular element. Otherwise, you're going to be doing less than optimal damage. So this person currently, they've used a Frost team. They have, as you can see, 36,800 Frost attack and 15,000 for the rest. Right, so that's what you're going to look like roughly, very later on, but what you're going to look like for each element. That's the endgame ideal situation. You're going to have a set for each of these elements that puts you somewhere in the 30,000 attack range for Volt, for Physical, for Fire, for Frost. Your eventual aim as well is to have close enough to 100% crit rate. Of course, when Vera comes out, we will have a whole bunch of new equipment. These 1, 2, 3, 4. And these help a bit because they give you percentage elemental attack and percentage crit as well, potentially. That will help you increase your crit numbers and your elemental attack numbers. So you don't need to have 100% crit now or be thinking about it yet, but just eventually, right? For gloves and boots, obviously crit is heavily preferred over elemental attack rolls. So if you've got a boot that's rolled all into elemental attack and a boot that's rolled all into crit, you take the crit boot any day. Unless you've already got 100% crit, in which case you can think about it. On all other pieces of equipment, elemental attack is heavily preferred to all attack because, as I said before, the maximum rolls on all attack are much lower than the maximum rolls on elemental attack. As a whale, you also want to start taking into account roll ranges. So if we take the leaked roll ranges into account for global, the minimum rolls compared to maximum rolls for one advancement star, right, on elemental attack, the minimum is less than half of the maximum. So if you've rolled 4 times badly, right, if you've rolled 4 times into elemental attack but it's rolled close to minimum, that actually could be worse than 2 good rolls, 2 good star rolls into an elemental attack. That's actually quite possible. So you'll need to familiarize yourself with what the roll ranges are and take that into account when you're looking at 2 different pieces and whether you should advance one or the other. And yeah, finally, I guess in terms of so in CN, what we get later on is the ability to lock rolls. So we have this item here. This item here, what it does is when we advance a piece of equipment, we can use this item. We can say use and then click. Let's say I don't want it to roll into HP, right? We can click here and when I advance this piece, it will not roll into HP. So if you're trying to min-max, later on this will be quite a helpful system. If you wanted to save some pieces now for using the locking system later, I would say it's not necessary, but you can. You can do it if you want. It's not necessary because you might actually want to use these for the ones that can roll into percentage, right? This is percentage physical attack. This is percentage health. You'll see I've rolled mostly into that, but I could have locked that and maybe they would have rolled in here instead, who knows. So you could save some pieces, some really nice gold pieces. Let's say they've got 3 good rolls, all attack and 2 elemental attacks, or all attack all attack crit and an elemental attack that you want, and then the last one's HP or something. You could save a piece like that, or a few pieces like that, for when we get the locking equipment. That's up to you. Alright, I think that pretty much covers it. Of course, there's other information to do with equipment that I haven't covered, but hopefully that covers most of the sort of basics. So one quick final thing for the whales. When you do start to get situations where you've got, let's say, really good gloves, right? You've got really well-rolled gloves or boots that have got really high crit rolls, and you don't need any more boot experience because you're going to be using those boots pretty much for all of your comps. You can consider the recycle option, right? So when you've already got perfect boots, and then you do joint ops a bit, and you get, let's say, 3 more gold boots, you don't need that experience. You can consider recycling that and putting that experience into something else that you need. The one caveat being, these new items from Vera do not use the same experience crystals. They use different ones to level up. So you can't recycle the items that we have now and use those crystals to level up the new Vera items. It doesn't work that way. Alright, I think that's all. Thanks for watching.